Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new here. My name is Laini. Today I decided that not really today, the past month I decided I was going to follow Best Dressed's Ultimate Thrift Guide. If you guys haven't watched any of Ashley's videos, she doesn't post anymore, but I still always go back and rewatch her old videos when I'm lacking inspo because she just has such a knack for YouTube as a whole. Her videos are so entertaining that you can watch them over and over. So the past couple weeks I've been going thrifting a bunch and just following every single one of Ashley's tips, whether I think it would actually help me, I agree with it or not. I am really going in with an open mind and trying my best to follow exactly what she says, just because I've been thrifting for a while now and I kind of am stuck in a routine where it feels like I'm probably missing a lot of things that if I went in with a fresh mind, I might find more. I also realize when I thrift with other people, everyone has a different routine of how they thrift. My friend Ava, she literally goes through every piece of clothing and she finds really good stuff that way, and I am way too scatterbrained where I run and jump around and I know my 5 spots I like to hit and I kind of sift through it, and that's about all I do. I think that following this thrift guide would be really fun for somebody who's never thrifted before, but I also thought it'd be fun for somebody who thrifts all the time and just wants to see if there's really a way to do it and find better things. Before we get any further into this video, I have a really exciting sponsor, and one that I think fits perfectly because I used to mask this thing with thrifting, and that's BetterHelp. So thank you so much to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. BetterHelp will assess your needs and match you with your own personal licensed therapist, and you can start communicating within 48 hours. It's not a crisis line, it's not self-help, it's professional therapy done securely online. There's a broad range of expertise in BetterHelp's 20,000 plus therapist network, which might not be locally available in a lot of areas. This service is available for clients worldwide. You can log into your account at any time and send a message to your therapist. You'll get timely and thoughtful responses, plus you can schedule weekly video or phone sessions. You'll never have to sit in an uncomfortable waiting room as with traditional therapy. BetterHelp is committed to facilitating great therapeutic matches, so they make it easy and free to change therapists if needed. It's more affordable than traditional offline therapy, and financial aid is available. BetterHelp wants you to start living a happier life today. Visit betterhelp.com/Laini, that's better HELP, and join over 1 million people taking charge of their mental health with the help of an experienced professional. And if you want a special offer that I got just for my viewers, you can go to betterhelp.com/Laini, that's better HELP, and you can get 10% off your first month. Thank you again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Let's get into the thrifting. Okay, so I was literally watching Best Dressed video and I was taking notes like I was ready to give a presentation on what I just learned. It was pretty extensive. I will say that I found really cool pieces using her tactics, and I want to talk about what worked for me, what didn't, and all that stuff. But I'm gonna link her video down below too, because she's gonna go more into detail about what to do, and I'm gonna go more into detail about what worked for me and what didn't. First thing she talked about that I wrote down was deciding whether you want something more vintage or contemporary, and by doing this you look up the age demographics or the income of the areas you live near on Google or Zillow, those kind of things. I tend to like more vintage things, and she said that if that's what you're looking for, go to a place with older population, residential population. So that's what I did. So I went to a new thrift store that I've never been at before. It was just a Salvation Army, but it was near a higher income area, and it was really big, it was really clean, and there were definitely more name brand things there than over by my house or other places I've been to. Then she had a little portion that was sponsored by thredUP, and I really do like thredUP, and I gave it a try with the tips she said, which was filtering the size, filter the brand, and she gave some examples of brands that she likes to look up, which are some things that you wouldn't normally think of looking up if you're just regular online shopping. But I didn't find anything that way, so I went to my tried and true, which is eBay, and for eBay I'll give you some tips. So this is a little different than Best Dressed video. I've recently really been liking just going to the vintage section, and I just click for the era of 1990s because that's normally when I find things that represent my style the best. And I'll just go through the tops, I'll go through the pants, and I'll filter it to be my size, and it ends up being around like 5 or 6 pages to go through. But if you're checking like once a week, you can go to newly listed and you can kind of keep up on like what's being posted on eBay in the decade you want and the sizes you want. So that's what I've been doing, and I found a few pieces that way. I have a haul coming soon, or maybe it's already out. I'll link it down below if it is, and you can see what I ended up getting on eBay, because that didn't really feel like part of this video just because it's something I'm so used to doing. The next point she went on are the Goodwill outlets, which is the Goodwill bins. And I have been to the Goodwill bins before, and I actually watched this video before I went. I went to one in Wisconsin when I was living in Chicago with my friend Shoshi, and the main thing she says is just to bring gloves, because she didn't do that, and my friend Shoshi and I, we brought gloves, we dug. I ended up getting, I think like 3 or 4 things, but it was like 2 hours of hunting. The stuff I ended up getting, it was like $3 or something insane, and they're pieces I still have. There are absolutely no Goodwill outlets near me that I could find, so this one kind of had to be a dud. I couldn't go back, but because I've done it before, it felt like I could still speak on it. I think it's something you either have to go, put your headphones in and hunt, or go with a friend to make it more fun, because it's intense. Do I think it's worth it? Maybe like once a year, and like that's it. I don't think I could go back all the time. It's just too much work and I get so tired. Next place she talks about is going to a vintage like curated store. So there's one pretty close to me. It's called Finders Keepers. It's in downtown Plymouth if you live in Michigan. I've always really liked this store. She talks about how it's good for denim, and I totally agree. Vintage curated stores are amazing for denim. I got a pair of vintage Wranglers from there that recently ripped a giant hole in the butt, but they were my favorite jeans ever. And then also a pair of vintage Lees that I still have. Obviously the prices are a little bit higher, which she talks about, but sometimes for denim it's worth it. I ended up paying around 40 bucks for both of those jeans. That vintage store has really good prices. I think they're good for jackets. I got a leather blazer there that you guys have seen me wear so many times. T-shirts if you're looking for vintage tees. For some reason at my thrift stores I can never find good vintage tees anymore, but whenever I go to a curated one, they always have the best ones. Next thing she talks about are flea markets. I literally tried for like 3 weeks straight to like go to one, and something just kept coming up and it wasn't happening. I've actually never been to a flea market, and when I was in California I was really upset I wasn't there for Sunday because I wanted to go to like the Rose Bowl flea market and just kind of experience it, but that didn't get to happen. She talks about how you should wear like a bodycon dress or leggings or a tighter tank to try on clothes because there aren't any fitting rooms. And this is actually something I want to talk about because I took this tip and applied it to a thrift store, because now the thrift store fitting rooms are all closed still from Corona. So I was able to try on a bunch of jeans at the thrift store just out in the open over my leggings, and they still have mirrors out there, so that was really nice. I found a couple good pairs, but I just have too many jeans right now that I didn't really need to take them home. But this is definitely a tip that I'm going to keep doing. The next place that Best Dressed talks about is an estate sale. So this is something that I looked online to go to an estate sale in my area, and the tip she gives is that you want to look for a closet or a description saying that they have women's clothing or jewelry, or just clothing or accessories, stuff like that, because sometimes estate sales only sell furniture. And this was something that I kept seeing, was there wasn't a lot of clothes at estate sales near me, and when there were, they'll take pictures of either individual pieces or the entire closet, and you can just look at it and you can tell like, what's the point of driving an hour there and I already can tell I don't like anything from this picture. I think if I stumbled upon an estate sale like near me, I would go, but to drive like an hour away for an estate sale that really didn't look like even my vibe or anything like that, it just didn't seem worth it. I think that estate sales, if you live in an area where people are like rich and actually have really cool stuff in their closet, it'd be more worth it, but there's not a lot of that where I live, so it would take a bit of driving to get to those things. And to do this, you literally just Google estate sales. There's estatesales.net, and then you type in your zip code and just look at all the listings around you. It's really easy, but it just wasn't calling my name, and I was in a mood. I didn't want to go. This was also something that kind of diminished me wanting to go, is that if you go Friday or Saturday, the start of the estate sale, you can find a lot more because it's not picked over. And I was normally like able to go on a Sunday, and I'd look through the photos and there wasn't even that much to begin with that I liked or anything, and I was like, especially if I go Sunday, there's gonna be nothing. But she did say if you go on Sundays, they're normally trying to get rid of everything so you can haggle a bit more and get the price down. Then she talks about her overall strategy for thrifting in the thrift store. One of her tips is to pop in music and flip through every single piece of clothing. This is something I can never ever do, but I sucked it up and I did it. I found one thing from doing that, and I show this in a haul, but I'll show it to you guys here. It was this little mesh psychedelic top. Is it super cute? Yes. To find that shirt probably took me 2 hours. Sure, it was $3, and if I went on Depop it was $20, but sometimes the time it takes me to flip through every single piece of clothing, and how fast I can find stuff on eBay, because eBay is just my second home now, it's not worth it for me. Like, I have a set way of going into the thrift store. I go look at the ladies' sleepwear, lingerie, I look at the ladies' denim, I look at the little boys' pants because those always fit me. I look at the shoes, the ladies' shoes, and then men's and women's jackets, and then I'm done. And when I look, I like that and I go out. So this was a very, very, very different way of working for me. Then the next thing she says is look at every single section, the decor, jewelry, accessory, menswear, PJs, and this is something I thought I did because I was like, oh, I'm so out there. I look at the little boys' pants because sometimes they fit well. Or when I was looking for suit vests, I started looking in the little boys section, and that's where I found my suit vests. I really listened to what she was saying, and I looked in every single section. And what came out of that were these cowboy boots. These were in the men's section for shoes, which I never look in because I don't normally fit in men's shoes. Like a men's 6 is my size, or 6.5, and they just don't normally have those sizes there. But I went and I looked, and when these are sitting with all the other men's shoes, they looked like a men's size. They looked way too big for some reason, and I think it's just because the toe is so long of a cowboy boot. And I flipped it over and I looked, and they were an 8.5, and I was like, these aren't a men's 8.5. There's no way. So I pulled them over, tried them on. They're women's 8.5. The brand is Coldwater Creek, and they're my size. So out of looking through every single thing, because sometimes things are misplaced or people are hiding it got me those cowboy boots. So that was a thumbs up, and that's something I can definitely do, but in my way of like glazing my eyes over. I don't need to flip through every single piece of clothing. She talks about how she just skins the edges like I was saying and looks at the color material, and that is totally something I do. I'm very drawn to plaid or like flannel. I'm very drawn to silk, satin material, anything Sherpa I always pull out and look at, and then mesh I tend to pull out and look at. And then also I'll look at something if it's lace, and then I can tell pretty quickly if it's that stretchy cheap lace or a nice sturdy, not gonna rip in 2 seconds lace. Then she talks about which colors she looks for, and this was a little harder for me to think about. I tend to be drawn to fairly neutral or muted colors, and then if anything's like sage green or a form of green, I pull that out as well. She talks about how to avoid polyester, acrylic, knits, and suede that is really badly stained because it's very expensive to get the stains out, which I totally agree with. And I feel like if you go to the thrift stores enough, you totally know that like awful acrylic sweater feeling that's in all of the women's sweaters. If you're looking for really high quality sweaters, go to the men's section. Sometimes they're not even that oversized, and you can find a pretty well fitted one. And their sweaters are just so much better material and feeling and structure and put together. I don't know why, like men's clothing feels like it was made to last a lifetime, and women's clothing was made to last a season, and that's honestly just disrespectful. Another tip she gives is check near fitting rooms and mirrors. This is where people are going to drop off their pieces that they picked up and kind of decided obviously they didn't want to get, and they haven't made their way back to the racks they're supposed to be on. When she said this one, I found a pair of jeans that were on a rack that just weren't put away yet. And sometimes I get nervous looking at those because I'm like, oh, are they not priced yet? And then they won't let you buy them if you bring them up. But these ones were priced. I tried them on. They fit really, really well, but I just ended up not getting them because I just have too many jeans. Another tip she gave is memorizing the back pocket of your favorite jeans. And this is something, again, I just guess I already had done. But it does make it a lot easier to sift through the denim, and even if you're just looking at the sides of the denim and you don't want to sift through every single piece, you can normally tell which ones are 100% cotton, which are like that good vintage fit denim that isn't stretchy and gonna wear a hole and those kind of things. So that's what I normally do now. I don't even have to sift to look at the back pockets. And finally, her last tip that I wrote down is altering your clothing. I give this tip all the time because I'm so passionate about it, but you can take things to a tailor if you don't know how to sew. Sometimes it's really worth it to get a piece to fit you perfectly so you wear it a million times instead of letting it rot in your closet. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun going through these little tips and tricks and kind of just trying them out. I'm really curious to see how this would go for somebody who maybe hasn't had a lot of success thrifting or is new to it, because I just feel like I'm already set in my ways and I know what I like and I know what I don't like. That was really hard to try and try something new. Even going to a new thrift store, I really like going to my same thrift store over and over and over because I just know where everything is. I know how to navigate it. Thank you again to BetterHelp for sponsoring this video. Remember, you guys can go to betterhelp.com/Laini. That's better, H-E-L-P, for 10% off your first month. I love you guys the absolute most, and I'll see you in a few days. Make sure to like, comment, and subscribe if you want to. I always forget that. Bye.